morning, everybody. This is another vital conversation with Dr. Eli Camp and I. We're talking about the 12th axioms of nature, which is going to be the resonance or law of similars, which is a big one. It's a big one. And this is the 12th of the axioms. And so we've spent a year, Eli, we've spent a year doing these, and it's been incredible. I really enjoy doing these and having you do these with me, and our other guests do these. And I think we need to publish them. I think we
I
need
do
to,
too.
yeah, we have to publish it and make posters, etc.
We can get them transcribed pretty easy, I think.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read the list of these. If my voice holds out, sorry. So we have the vis medicatrix naturae was the first axiom, health as balance, then suppression, individuality or individualization, doctrines of signatures, the minimum dose. Number 7 was dual effect, or the axiom of compensation. Number 8 was law of conservation of energy. Number 9 was periodicity. 10 was holism. 11 was intention. And now we have 12, the law of similars and resonance. So I'm all
Wow, we talked about a lot this year.
we talked about a lot. And at the end of this talk, we're going to do a summary wrap up end for NMI. So this is wonderful. If you can't join us here on this talk today, I hope everybody gets to see the recording. So yeah. So the law of resonance and similars. I know we have a lot to talk about this because it fits into homeopathy, it fits into every patient we see, it fits into our daily lives. And I think you were just mentioning that you went back to see, when did this start? How long has the human species been, working with and in harmonics with the law of resonance? Um,
hmm hmm Yeah, so we it started to be defined by Pythagoras's theories in 500 before BCE, right? Before the Common Era. And I was reading the article of a guy, he's an anthropologist, and he was talking about other things, but this concept came in of harmonics and resonance. And he said in there, even though Pythagoras didn't really start to define this in the form we know it today, it has been with humans since the beginning of human time, because we've always sung and danced and beat drums and breathed and prayed and did vision quests and whatever else they did. So it's a law of the universe.
mhm. Yeah, I'll bring up in Lindlahr in chapter 4, I believe it is here. Let me look again. The chapter 4 is what is life? Um, and he has a section that says life is vibratory. Um, all things in nature, from a fleeting thought or emotion to the hardest piece of diamond or platinum, are modes of motion or vibration. And then he talks about Pythagoras. Over 2,000 years ago, Pythagoras thought that all matter was made up of three elements: the vis, or primordial substance, motion, and number. And he says it's interesting to note how up to date modern science appears to be verifying this ancient philosopher. Um, and I think this was Jim Sensenig's one of his favorite sections, because he would talk about the law of good vibrations,
hmm
uh, like we're back singing good vibrations. So it's true. We're connected to people or things that resonate with us, right? We have that way of working with people who resonate with us. And
hmm
um, so he
And
says,
isn't it part of the healing we offer them?
Right. That I think is the doctor-patient relationship,
Mhm.
right? When you connect with that patient and you have that similar harmonic, and then they go, ah, okay,
Yes.
now I'm going to be able to heal. Now I've found the support or whatever they were looking for, but they feel
Mhm.
the resonance and they know they're in the right spot, right?
Mhm.
They're in the right
And
soul.
that's their body coming into a more synchronized state. They don't know that. You can't.
They don't.
No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so there's a short paragraph here I'll read from Lindlahr, and it starts with, what is an established harmonic relation? It says, a simple illustration may help make this clear. If a watch is in good condition, in harmonious vibration, its movement is so adjusted that it coincides exactly in point of time with the rotations of our Earth around its axis. The established regular movement of the Earth forms the basis of the established harmonic relationship between the vibrations of a normal healthy timepiece and the revolutions of our planet. The watch has to vibrate in unison with the harmonics of the planetary universe in order to be normal or in harmony. In like manner, everything that is to be normal, natural, healthy, good, beautiful must vibrate in unison with its correlated harmonics in nature.
Wow.
Isn't that brilliant?
It is brilliant and it's true. And we see it.
Yeah.
We see what happens like a spinning top. It's either smooth or it wobbles. And wobbles are symptoms. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Wobbles are symptoms. He says, what we call inanimate nature is beautiful and orderly because it plays in tune with the score of the symphony of life. Man only can play out of tune. This is his privilege if he chooses, by reason of his freedom and of choice and action. Man only can play out of tune.
Our free will.
Yeah. And it gets us into trouble, I think.
Well, it does. I mean,
Yeah.
but it helps support that illusion that we're actually in control of anything because people don't do good if they're not in control.
Yeah. That's very true. Very true. Yeah.
And a lot of people talked about this, not just Lindlar and not just Pythagoras. I mean, this was Einstein's work was based on vibrational pattern. I mean, it's physics, even quantum physics. Like it's and Galileo and Niels Bohr and how many other people, so many different sciences and ways of understanding the planet are all based on this law of like if we weren't, we wouldn't be stuck together if there was no coherence and,
Mm-mm.
and congruency and resonance and harmony. We couldn't exist as a being. We would just dissolve into all the however many uncountable molecules we're made out of.
Yeah, exactly. It's what keeps things together. It's the vibration between molecules and atoms. It's the electrical connection between all those things. And that's why homeopathy works so well, because, right, it resonates with that to bring it back into harmony. That is not in resonance,
You
right?
should tell the story of the bridge.
Yeah, so I don't know if people have heard of Galloping Gertie. I should look up the timing on that, but Galloping Gertie is the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. And it's the bridge between Tacoma and the Narrows, which goes to the little islands there. And I think it was in the 60s or early 70s, a wind hit that at the right harmonic that started it galloping. And it was they actually have a video of the bridge going like this, like the cars were being flipped off of it, people scrambled, and ultimately the bridge broke apart. And it's because the wind was at the exact harmonic of the bridge, and it just fell apart. And so they had to measure the wind speeds through there. They had to redesign the bridge, and now it's been rebuilt twice. But That's the story of Galloping Gertie, and it's all about harmonics. So when you're in harmony, or you're singing with that same tune, um, you amplify the sound, right? And so that's homeopathy, that's the botanical medicines, that's the sine wave current we use in hydrotherapy. It's like all of these things that we're doing is to put things back into harmonics. And
And
now
it's
we,
the water itself,
as
too.
the water itself, it's the water that carries the energy, right? And we know that water carries the remedies, and water carries the imprints of those molecules, and it's all harmonics. So perhaps this might be the most important axiom that we've put into codification here, is because without harmonics, without the law of similars, I don't know that we would be here, right?
Well, I think so. I think that's what we are as beings is a particular frequency, which is why I believe every patient has their own frequency. It's what identifies
Mm-hmm.
us as that small part of the whole. And
Mm-hmm.
then we find coherence, right? And we're able to now have a physical body and experience life with our senses and in ways we probably can't when we're just a signal and a frequency. And when that, when our frequency starts to get disrupted and becomes disharmonious, our body starts to break down. It's not as coherent. It's not working and together and doing what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's disease, that's disorder, that's what we work with our patients to bring them back into balance, right?
And
Yeah.
why, even though there is pharmacy that is life-saving, it saves the human body, but most of it increases the imbalance in the frequency, in the right, that people become less harmonious, less resonant with their own, congruency, and it may shift what the symptoms look like, but it's not increasing organization. I
Oh, well, this is when you can see that people's circles aren't aligned, right? They say one thing, but they're actually doing the other,
mm-hmm,
and they're not, the circles have to be in alignment,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's all it's all about those things. Yeah. It's amazing to watch patients, and it's always, they need that external observation, because you can't figure it out for yourself, right? You need that other person, you need that doctor patient relationship, for that other person to go, look, this is where you're going to get to, this is how we're going to get you there, right? And this, does that make sense? And they're like, oh yeah, now I can see, right? So they need that guidance back into that state of balance, or they need that energy from us, or the modalities from us, or the encouragement even from us, to know that they can, you have to start with the thought.
Mm-hmm.
The thought has to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and then the brain can put the body into motion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that, and that goes back to the intention.
Mm-hmm.
It all connects together. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to see it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So we can boil this down. I've been able to boil this down to like 5 steps for people. And that is, first, the understanding that the body's trying to heal itself, that it can and is trying to heal itself, that we're
Mhm.
self-healing, that this is something I think mainstream commercialism and capitalism and a number of other, economic forces has done a really good job of erasing that knowledge, unless you stumble across it, right? It is not normal. It's not what they teach you in school. They don't normalize that or explain that. So we're self-healing. So this is, once they wrap their head around that, then it's, what does it look like to be healthy, or to be in right congruency, and to resonate at your best frequency, at your frequency, your healthy frequency? What does that look like? And then uh, how do I get there is step number three. And
Mm-hmm.
then is realizing it, experiencing
Mm-hmm.
the body operating better. And then five is how do you keep it going and maintain that? Like it's just that in my mind, the first one is often the hardest. I don't know if you find that.
Yeah, I think so because people in our society are not taught to trust their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
not to listen to their bodies, not to understand their bodies. It's like, well, you go to the doctor and they'll tell you what's wrong with you. And
Mm-hmm.
then they'll give you this drug that's going to make it all better. So you don't even have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't all those symptoms have nothing to do with what you ate, or those symptoms have nothing to do with, what you did. And so there's no self responsibility. And so it's all like, well, the doctor will fix me, right? And so they don't trust their body because they're told not to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, that symptom, we got to stop that symptom because your body's done something crazy. That immune system's out of whack if you got an autoimmune disease, so we got to suppress that. So they're taught that they can't trust their body to be okay and to be healing and know it's going to be okay. That is a huge step for me to coach patients when they have autoimmune diseases or chronic diseases. It's like, you
Mm-hmm.
didn't get here overnight. Like Jim Sensennig would say, you can't hike into the forest 8 miles and come back six,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? It took you a while to get there, and now it's going to take you a while to get back. But you've got to trust the process and know their body can heal it. And it's yeah, it's a process with people, and sometimes they get it, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they come back later and go, "Oh, I finally figured out what you were trying to tell me," right? It takes a
Well,
bit.
it's a message completely polar opposite of what they've been exposed to and inundated with from the minute they were born, unless they were part of a different universe, which I've discovered exists on our planet, right? I mean, not just people scattered throughout cities, where they're trying to eat healthy and organic, they have a completely different understanding of life. And so,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know. That's why community is so important, to have those communities of people who, you know, understand organic foods and understand the importance of healthy living and healthy relationships and healthy community. And then it's not, in that other world that we're creating with the AIs and the computers run generated whatevers.
it's a
That's
bizarre world, right?
that's a
It's a
bizarre world. Yeah.
it's the world of I don't want to say money because I don't think currency or something to trade with is necessarily a bad thing. What is the word? Not money, not currency, but
It's, you want to say it's commerce, but I think it's power.
power. Yeah,
Hmm.
power.
I think it's power. I think it's a power grab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's not by people who care about, I think, restoring health to what it we the way we approached health had to be very different very long ago, or we wouldn't still be on the planet.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're
Right,
not alive today because of the mainstream discoveries in the last 200 years
right,
or 400 years. That's not why we're here. We're here in spite of that. We made it all those hundreds of thousands of years because I believe we practiced quote unquote medicine in a completely different way. We were part of nature. We understood the laws of nature. We could see plants, if they got water, they grew. If you put, nutrients back in, like we weren't thinking about it in that way as humans. We were just observing. And we hadn't removed ourselves from the planet and from the earth and from the net of life that we live in. We just
right.
figured out how to thrive and be successful. And at some point things shifted and mainstream medicine came to be and capitalism and power and the
Yeah.
accumulation of wealth, the accumulation of more than you could possibly need in 100 years of life.
Right.
And that is when so much knowledge, I think, started to be lost and obscured intentionally.
Yeah. And we gave the power to the industries that took over, pharmaceutical, now insurance industry, and this whole thing that rolls around has its own harmonics, has
Mm-hmm.
its own being now. And it's like you need to choose. In You need to choose which path you're going down. Are you going to be in harmonics with nature? Are you going to be in harmonics with this system?
Exactly.
And that's where I still have this struggle a bit in me. Personally, it's like, how do we justify naturopaths prescribing pharmaceutical drugs? And yet I do that occasionally because in Washington I have the law that allows me to do that. The reason I like that law is that legally I can take people off this stuff. So that's what I do. But it's, I don't think that we can merge these two philosophies together. They
Mm-mm.
don't. They're like, it is that paradigm shift when you come to this side of natural medicine and knowing the axioms of nature and understanding how nature works and understanding how you use your modalities with that to bring a patient's vital force up to a higher level. That does not work with suppressive allopathic medication. It doesn't work. I always tell people you cannot poison the body back to health. It's an
Mm-hmm.
impossibility to put poison in the body and be healthier. It
Mm-hmm.
does not work that way. It
Mm-hmm.
does not work that way.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yep.
not a law of nature.
It's not the law of nature.
Mm-mm.
But sometimes we need IV antibiotics because
Mm-hmm.
that's what it takes to be in resonance with that really bad critter you got in your
Mm-hmm.
bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay because it's in resonance and it works, right? So there are things that allopaths do that are in harmonics with nature. They just kind of don't think of that way, right?
No,
But
no.
sometimes you need those things. And so, that's where I yeah, have a bit of a struggle with certain things out there in the allopathic world, but I know some of it is in harmonics. So
Well, we need it.
we need it. Right.
We need it. We need parts of it.
Right.
And we need parts of nature cure. There's
Hmm.
because there's things nature cure practitioners do these days. It's very diverse, and they may not be the it might not be something you'd keep if you were sifting through a basket of nuggets, right? You
Right.
might toss it and say, yeah, that's not so much for me. But they both have those nuggets that you want to keep. It's a power grab. It's back to power.
It's back
They
to
want
power.
to do all of it. They do not want to admit that an allopathic approach to health management only serves in a certain time, in a certain place, and for a limited amount of time. And
Right.
then you have to get that person back to living within the laws of nature. They don't want to give us that ground. Yet they don't serve that ground. They don't, right? They don't take care of that lawn. So,
No, nor do they understand it.
no, I agree.
Right. They don't have the understanding of that. Well, I just want to say for anyone who's interested, if you go to, because we're going to be running out of time here, so I'm going to throw this in. If you go to Lindlahr's Philosophy number one, volume number one, at the back there's an appendix one. It says epidemics. So he's talking about epidemics of communicability of diseases, but he talks extensively about the law of resonance in there and the vibration of the law of similars. And he goes on and on and on and on about this. He talks about piano strings, and if the C string is gone, then the piano isn't in tune, all these different things. But it's really a great read. And I hope if you want more on the law of resonance, read the part on epidemics, of all places is where he put it. Find that interesting. Um, I'll leave you with one quote there. It says, if the law of resonance is a fundamental, natural, universal law affecting all physical organizations, then it must of necessity affect the human body. So I just can't believe how much information and philosophy, if you can see how many times I've tabbed this book for
Mhm.
these axioms that we've done this year. It's Lindlahr was brilliant. He was brilliant in codifying this knowledge. Like you said, we can find it in many other works.
Mhm.
And that's why you can recognize it. You know, as you're reading other things, you're reading Hahnemann, you're reading all these other literatures, you're like, ah, that makes sense because that's
Mhm.
the no similars, or that's the dual effect, or that's the,
Mhm.
and it's so fun to recognize these axioms as we look at our medicine and we use our medicine, and then you're like, ah, that makes sense. That's why that works.
Well, I had always hoped that that particular book, that not only Jim, but you and Jared and Rick and everybody quotes from this book, right? I
Right.
had always hoped that that would have been a mandatory first year book that all incoming naturopathic doctors should have to read.
You
And
know it.
I learned recently there's people who graduated in the 90s and they they never read it.
When I graduated from NCNM in 1990, so I started in 80, well, 85, actually took me 5 years, because I had a kid in the middle. So it was required in 1985 when I started NCNM. This was my textbook. So the set was my textbook. And we had, I don't remember who taught the course, but we had philosophy, um, for, I think these books were part of our texts for the first year.
Hmm.
And so, you know, I grew up with that. And as I was reading, it's like, oh yeah, that's what my dad always said. You know,
Hmm.
it's really cool. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's what dad said.
Hmm.
He got it from Lindlahr.
Hmm.
I don't think he read Lindlahr. He got it from Carroll. And Dr. Carroll knew it from Lindlahr
Hmm.
because he was taught it at the Lindlahr school. So it's that direct correlation. It's like, that's just blows my mind, you know, that my father was speaking Lindlahr, that
I
he
love that we're doing this and
and he
making
learned from
sure.
Carroll, you know. So
Yes.
Dr. Carroll trained with Lindlahr and Ledoux, trained my dad. I grew up with this language,
Hmm.
and then to read it in a book, I was like, oh my
Hmm.
God, that's exactly what my dad would say. It was
Right.
blew my mind away. Blew my
That is
mind.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's so important. We don't want that. We don't want this knowledge to fall into obscurity because it is the foundation of proper uh medicine.
It is.
I don't care what your doctor degree is. It's the
Yeah,
foundation of medicine, period.
right. Yeah. You know, you can be a healer in many, many ways. And being that healer in whatever vocation you're in, you can still be a healer and you can use these principles because they'll always work. They're always
Hmm.
there. So, yeah. Oh, how are we on time here? I know we've got a couple of things we need to do also.
Hmm.
Fran, am I?
Yeah, we should do, what should we do? The talk, or I mean the wrap up? No,
Let's
we should do
do,
that at the end.
well, let's do that at the end.
Good.
I know we've got a couple people on the call here today. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the axioms or anything that we've done this last year? Or you're welcome to unmute yourself and chime in, do a little chat with you.
I didn't know there were other people here. I hope I didn't scratch my nose. No, I'm teasing. I just see their videos are off.
I see their
I just
videos.
had a quick question. What was the book that you were quoting from Lindlahr?
Okay, so it is Lindlahr, Volume 1, Philosophy. And mine is a hardback book. I think Eli's is different than mine.
Yeah, you have like the second or third or fourth edition, I think.
Yeah, and then there is also the second book I pull from is Natural Therapeutics, volume number 2. So this volume 2 is Natural Therapeutics by Lindlahr. Volume 1 is the philosophy. So there's philosophy, natural therapeutics. Yeah.
I wanted that one, but when I was trying to buy that, it was $75, man.
Man. Yeah. Right. What is volume number 3? And I tend not to pull it out, and it's probably on my book.
It is dietetics. And then 4 is diagnosis.
Okay.
Which is not bad. His diagnosis is not too bad at all. Dietetics, yeah, they're all good, actually, because he weaves the philosophy through everything.
Sure. Yep. These should be the fundamental textbooks for all vitalists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've done a pretty good job bringing this philosophy forward through NMI, especially as we do the axioms of nature. It's codified it a little bit because it is scattered throughout the books, and they're wonderful to have. I hope people can get sets. I don't know if these can be republished. I don't know that, Eli.
Someone was talking to me about that the other day, and I don't remember who it was. They want to know if Vital Health wanted to do it, and I said no. But NMI should do it if we are able to. It depends if it's on the open. Like we could write a forward, right? So you, Jared, we could write a nice forward to it and then republish it.
Republish them. Mm-hmm. This was Henry Lindlahr, 1919.
Wow.
And it was revised with addition and published in 1981. So that's the one I have. This was in Great Britain.
I bet it's open domain. And as long as we put a forward in there and, use it as a cornerstone books for NMI teachings, I bet we probably could.
Yeah, I think we should do something like that. That'd be wonderful. Yeah,
Harry,
Brian,
do you know? Harry's here. He may not be at his computer.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, let's do.
Yeah, I think I'll look into that. I think what you just said is probably true. Jane publishes all these old books, JAIN, homeopathic books. There must be ways to do it.
Mm-hmm,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'd be a neat one to do. There's a couple others I have that I think would be great to do. I'm going to do a little video of, I don't have it with me, but I found my dad's lecture notes from his talk that he did. I have the intro to the talk that he did at NCNM when I was a student that Dan Young remembers attending. And so I have my dad's original notes. So I'm going to scan them in, digitize them, and then I'll do a little video talk and present that for NMI.
That's awesome. That's just awesome.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Well, as a wrap up, we've done a heck of a lot with NMI this year. It's been quite a productive year for us. We have a brand new website, which is beautiful. And we have new board members that are here. We brought on Dr. Jason Kinley, Dr. Preeti Shah, Dr. Chrissy Fleetwood, Dr. Peter Abel are on the board, and we have a new president. So I am backing down after 2 years and passing the torch to Dr. Christy Fleetwood. So she's our new president, and she's going to do great. We have a new executive director who's been amazing. So shout out.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
Yeah. So Lisa Petersburg has been just a joy, and she's really taken on the reins and is going to bring us forward to do, even better things. So we're working hard on memberships, getting people involved, getting the schools involved. We're working on the curriculum. We are bringing forward the vital certifications with mentorships and in an organized fashion so people can follow through the curriculum to get their VNMI. And then their fellowship, the FNMI. We've got, 3 or 4 candidates right now for FNMI, which hasn't happened because COVID hit and all those things occurred. And Jim passed away, and we were just kind of in a holding pattern, right? Mm-hmm. So now we can move these things forward, and it's so wonderful to see NMI growing and doing so well. I'm just really happy. We have a successful Vital Gathering in Phoenix. We're going to do another one this coming spring in April, and amazing speakers we put together for that. Just amazing. So I hope everybody wrangles all their friends and colleagues and brings them, because it's going to be a dynamite talks. And very rarely do we get Andre Sain out of Canada. So you got to be there for Andre. And you got to be there for these other speakers, because they're, and I don't have the list of all the speakers with me. I should have listed them out, but just to let folks know, Jared Zeff and Harry Swope and I will stay around. We're going to stay as emeritus for NMI. And so we are always here in the background helping and giving advice and supporting. So,
and you'll still teach.
And I'll still teach. Yeah, and I'm still.
We may do some Vital Conversations next year. We were kind of kicking around a possible theme. I won't let the cat out of the bag because I haven't talked to any of the other board members about it. But I think there's some things we could do with Vital Conversation next year that would be really, really helpful in a different kind of way.
Good. Yeah, we need to, keep the communication and the camaraderie going between us elders and younger docs who need to hear our stories and hear our cases and hear these things, because I really think it's the storytelling is how people learn. It's hard to book learn, right? You can book learn, but you don't know how to put it into practice. It's the stories and the cases that help you know. It's like, oh, I remember hearing, Dr. Tish talk about that case where she had, and that gives people the courage to try. And I got that from my father when I had a patient with sepsis in the leg, and I thought, I don't know how to treat this. Oh my God. And then I heard my dad's voice in my head going, no, you know how to do this. You saw me do this, because I saw him treat a really severe case of sepsis. So knowing that he had done that gave me the courage to try, and I was successful. It's like, it does work. Look at this. And so when you have that courage, or someone else has done that and was successful in treating a patient like that, then you're like, oh, I can tackle this situation. That's the education that we miss in our schools these days, because you don't see the living actions of naturopathic nature cure in our clinical settings in our schools.
Yeah, that's why these all rotations are so important.
They are. They're necessary for raising doctors.
Well, I didn't know what was possible today till I did my first clinical rotation with Sensenig. I knew homeopathy. I was getting a superb education in classical homeopathy from Messer. But nature cure, a little bit from Morstein. But I only had a shift or 2, 3 with her. I went to Jim's the first quarter I spent, I did a week. The first time I did a week, and I saw things happen that before that I would have said, yeah, no, that's not possible. And yet he kept doing the impossible for a week. And I said to him, we went to this little pizza place by his office that he loved to eat at. And when I was in town, we would go at least twice for pizza. Um, and I shared this with him and he said, well, so what do you think now? And I said, well, now I think there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to learn that I didn't learn because where do I find out about all of this stuff that you're doing with these people? And
Right.
that's what he said. Find your mentors, go do clinical rotation. So I spent, at least a week or two every quarter after that experience finding people who were practicing nature cure.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's what's so needed. The issue is many of us are aging out.
I know.
And so and this is exactly why we put NMI together.
Mm-hmm.
So that we would have this knowledge in video and lectures. There goes my voice
Mm-hmm.
there.
And we have some fabulous practitioners out, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years,
Right.
who are learning and, well, they've learned and now they're practicing differently.
And they will tell you that this is the thing that changed their practice. That NMI is what has made them successful and with their patients because they have found that this is the way that they can help their patients heal.
Mm-hmm.
This knowledge, this ability to put the philosophy into practice has been a game changer for every one of those clinicians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have a few members of NMI who had just about left medicine.
Yep.
But they didn't lose their belief in the way we practice medicine. They just couldn't quite figure out how to do it because they didn't necessarily learn it.
Right.
And they started coming to the Vital Conversations in 2016. And many of them, of those people, reopened their practice because that's what they were trying to do all along.
Right.
I love those stories.
They didn't have it modeled for them.
No.
It was, how do I put that together in a practice? Because that wasn't modeled in their clinical setting in schools. It wasn't modeled in their rotations that they went to. They didn't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what the Centers of Excellence is for, is for us to mentor docs, even if they spend a couple days in our clinics, if they spend a week, if they actually do a residency for 3 months with us. It's that Centers of Excellence that was always our goal with NMI, to have these hubs of clinical rotations that can occur for these doctors so they can see how do you put a hydrotherapy center into your clinic? How does that work? How do you spend an hour, 2 hours doing a homeopathic case and yet do all these other things? Right? So you have to see if you have a brick and mortar facility, how do you run it? How does that work? Right? Or even how do you do it online? I mean, there's so many different ways. And when we all had to do virtual, that was a learning curve for me to figure out how to do that virtually, but it worked.
Well, we found, what I found people who could get the machine to people so that they could do their hydrotherapy at home. And even without the machine, just getting them doing hydrotherapy was the big thing. It's the therapies that are hands-on that were so difficult. And
yeah, you can have patients do the home hydrotherapy and it's very effective. Very effective. And it's simple. They just need water and a towel and a wool blanket. And it's not hard to coach them to do them. And it's amazing the effect they get.
I had thought about when we get our sheep, getting a sheep with a really soft wool and letting Sophie learn how to weave wool blankets and then let her have a little sideline business where she could sell those to practitioners that need.
And the socks. It's hard to get wool socks for the cold sock treatment. Absolutely. Especially,
and it's not hard to spin and weave.
No.
Yeah. Just like you can make bread and I found out 57, 54 something, and I just found out that I don't have to buy brown sugar. Like, it's such a farce they pulled such a visor over our eyes. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to spend the money on brown sugar. I can make it like in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Do you just put molasses back
It's
into the white
it.
sugar? Yeah.
Well, I don't use white sugar, right? I'll use raw cane. So
Okay.
mine's a little bit richer, but yeah, I just put the molasses back in. I didn't know I could kill a chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much I didn't know
Yeah.
that I just want to tell the whole world now that if I can do it, anybody can do it. Just like
Yeah.
I think that too. If he can do that, I can do that. If she can
Right.
do that,
It's
I
not
can
that
do
hard.
that.
Right.
If
You know what?
any human can.
I always made sure my kids knew how to cut apart a chicken.
Yes,
Get a whole chicken. Do you know how to cut it apart? They watched me do it, but it's like, now you do it.
you do it.
You do
Yeah,
it. Cut the chicken apart. Those skills.
those skills.
Those skills are needed. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this year has been really fun.
It has been. And it's been a joy to do these with you, Eli. And I love connecting with you and chatting anyway. We always have great conversations. So, but it's been a journey and a mission of Jim's to get these. He was calling them laws of nature, and have them published. And he had worked on it off and on for years. It was part of the foundation's textbook. His material was partly in the textbook that still hasn't been published fully. Um, and so he would call me up and say, "Hey, Tish, I need you to help me with these. I know there's more. I know there's more." And he had 6 or 8 defined pretty well. And that was part of the lectures that he gave initially for NMI. And so I would call him up and I go, "Well, Jim, what about this part of Lindlahr?" He goes, "No, no, no, that's part of the suppression, or that's part of the health is balance, or that's like, oh, okay, I thought I found a new one. No, it's part of that one. And so we would sit and bat around philosophy a lot. And it was fun. It was fun to do that with him. I think you did that with him. And it's really neat now to bring these 12 axioms together. And there are a couple others that have been suggested. Charlie Cropley suggested another one to me. Paul Terrio mentioned another one. So I think there's more conversations to have about these. There are most likely others out there. But those are the ones we could identify in a year, I guess. So,
Well, and it just strikes me the significance that it's like someone coming and saying, "Did you know there's such a thing called gravity?" Like we all accept that because we know what happens if we jump off a building.
right.
But these are the same kind of laws. They
Mhm.
simply are. You cannot like them.
Right.
We can want them to be different, but they're not. And when you violate them, just like you violate the law of gravity by jumping off a building, nothing good comes of that.
Right.
They're the same consequences. You violate the laws of nature and or the axioms or the principles of the universe. That they're just things that always happen and
Yeah, that's the way our world works.
the way our
It's
world
the way,
works.
and I've had NMI associates come to me and say, "Well, I think that's not true. I think it's this way." And I go, but you're trying to manipulate that
Mm-hmm.
law of nature. Now you're talking allopathically.
Mm-hmm.
See? So, and you can do that as long
Mm-hmm.
as you're doing that and you're aware that maybe we need to suppress something right now. That's okay. Just know
Mm-hmm.
that that's what you're doing, and that there are consequences for doing that you're going to have to also work through. So, I find it interesting when people start arguing with me about these. It's like they're just there,
Yeah,
right?
not my
They're,
fault, man.
I don't kill the messenger here. They're just there. They're real. We know they're real. You don't like it. I know you don't want it that way. You want to control it. You want to change it. Okay, but just know if you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
that there are consequences of doing that. And maybe that's what you need to do in that situation for that patient at that time, and that's okay. Not saying that these are things that, you just know that they're there and you're working with them, because there is a consequence in nature for those actions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which I think is why he always said, Sensenig always said, it doesn't matter what you use. What matters is what you expect to happen. What are you trying to do with that? Because that's what
exactly.
makes you a different doctor.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And it's to have that wisdom or that paradigm shift to know that, this is what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and be wise about that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and to know, because, only man can change the, you know, and so we have the ability to change outcomes and will things our way, but that doesn't always mean that's the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the
Mm-hmm.
best for the patient.
You
So,
guys just landed in a whole bramble of cactus, and now you got to figure out how to get out.
right,
Totally.
you got all those stickers in you got to pull out.
Well, since you are heading out as president, I just want to say I'm personally so grateful for your service and your sharing of information and your mentorship and your leadership. I think you've been fabulous at it, and I know we had to talk you into it. And I know things went wonky on your shift, on your watch a little bit.
A little bit.
Um, but none of it doesn't matter. You led us through fearlessly and heroically. And I think we are, I think now we're on a little bit of a downhill ride for a while, which is kind of nice.
That's good. I'm glad I gave us a big push.
You did. And to everybody, uh, happy holidays. Thank you for your service. If you serve NMI, if you're thinking about it, if you have in the past, because we wouldn't still be here without all of us. And I just want to keep reminding everyone that it takes all of us to make this happen. New, old, I don't care, right? I don't care what we know about medicine. Running an organization is so it takes a lot of people, a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Takes a lot of support. And I would just encourage folks, if you can't give volunteer time to NMI, if you can, give financial support,
Mhm.
because we're a nonprofit. We only rely on donations and what we make, a little bit at the conferences, but really that goes into the speakers. We don't have much coming out of revenue from that. And
Mhm.
so really we need your donations. We need your patients to be public members and public members to donate. And so if you have the ability to get that information out to your patients or other folks, please do that, because it's a lot to keep this organization running, and it is all by donation and love and support of all of us that keep it alive. We must keep this alive for naturopathic medicine. We
Mhm.
must. We must. NMI is the only organization in the whole world that is holding this information for future generations. We are the only ones doing it,
Mhm.
the only ones. So
Are.
I thank everybody for a great 2 years as president, and it's been a wild ride. And now I'm glad I get to turn the reins over to Christy Fleetwood. She's going to do a great job,
Mhm.
and it's wonderful to be a part of this organization. I wouldn't be anywhere else, you know. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah.
All right. Well, everyone stay safe. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll be
Happy
back.
New Year. We'll see you in 2024. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Bye, guys. Take care.